Shadow Minister Harriett Baldwin.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I think this has been a really excellent and engaging debate where I think everyone on all sides of the House has recognised this is an important issue we should be dedicating time to. And indeed it is a crisis because youth unemployment is rising faster here in the UK than anywhere else in the G7. And we've had some fantastic contributions from these benches. We've had my right honourable friend, the member for East Hampshire, who, as a former employment minister, I think spoke in an extremely well-informed way, but also had some very practical things which he incorporated into a call to action. We had a passionate speech from the member for Beaconsfield talking specifically about the greyhound as an exemplary business in her constituency. The member for Bromsgrove, I think, made a very apposite comment about the best welfare programme for young people is a job. And in an outstanding speech, the member for Leicester East shared her deep experience of working in a family business and how important it is that in our retail and hospitality sector, those jobs exist to teach young people reliability, communication and resilience.
Would my right honourable friend?
I'd love to.
I'm extremely grateful to my right honourable friend. And while she's picking out remarkable contributions to this debate, although he's not in his seat, was she particularly struck by the member for North Norfolk saying that the Conservatives should apologise for not having in their motion any mention of transport to help young people get to work, when the much longer Liberal Democrat motion, ironically, has no mention of transport either.
I think my right honourable friend makes an excellent point, and indeed my honourable friend from Herne Bay and Sandwich, I think, spoke extremely eloquently about the importance of the dog and duck in his constituency, but also how terrible it is for the local community that it has closed because of all the extra costs. My right honourable friend, in his contribution from Beverley and Holderness, was absolutely on the nail in terms of some of the statistics and the fact that we've seen this film before. We have learnt about the importance of the ladder of opportunity that is built by good intentions, and that you need to create those jobs in the private sector. You can't regulate your way to prosperity. And my honourable friend, the member for Broxbourne, in a speech which I thought was very practical and befits his background in both the private sector and in local government, had some very sensible points to make. Is that my honourable friend asking for me to give way? I give way. Yeah.
I find it striking during the Minister opposite speech that she seemed to be lauding jobs created by the government. Does my right honourable friend agree that it's ridiculous to suggest that the government should create jobs instead of business?
My honourable friend is spot on, because it is that foundation of private sector prosperity that will create the tax revenues that we can use to pay for excellent public services. And I think that was a point that my honourable friend from Mid-Leicestershire, who I agree the House is shocked to learn that he will be 40 next week, made a similar point, which I thought illustrated the importance of business and of the private sector. And at times, Madam Deputy Speaker, I felt, and I hope you'll permit this in the chair, a quote from Mark Twain came to mind about lies, damn lies and statistics. And I'm using it as a quote, Madam Deputy Speaker, to summarise what I think were some of the contributions. So I want to just sort of set out for the record what I see as the statistics that I'm afraid as facts are a matter of record. That youth unemployment is now at 15.9%. It is a rise of 2.5% on this government's watch. And we've heard from a range of contributions, 729,000 young people are unemployed in this country, and that is a scandalous 103,000 more than the previous year. And that number doesn't even include those who were signed off as long-term sick. Indeed, there are nearly 1 million young people who are not in education, employment or training, and that is up 25,000 59,000 since this government came to power. Many of them are university graduates. The Centre for Social Justice has warned that over 700,000 university graduates are now out of work and on benefits. And many are fleeing the country, looking for opportunity elsewhere. We saw last year... Can I just finish my sentence? I'll give way to my honourable friend. Last year, there was net emigration of 59,000 young people under the age of 24 from this country. I give way.
Proportion of benefits claimants that are under age 24. In Sleaford North Highcombe, the number of people on unemployment benefit under the age of 24 is 25% of the total, which is clearly a very large amount.
And I think, as we've seen so often in this debate, it is a tragedy, and that every young person deserves that chance to move into the world of work. And I think what we're seeing from these statistics, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that this is not a blip. It's a trend, and it's a trend that's moving in the wrong direction. I would love to.
I'm extremely grateful. Does she look forward to the Minister's reply, as I do, in a moment? Because youth unemployment has gone up from 14% to 16% already. Does she want to hear from the Minister at the dispatch box a commitment that he will ensure that this government reduces it back down so that they can, for once, end their time in power in 2029, however short-lived they may be in power, they may end it with a lower rate of youth unemployment than they started?
I certainly hope that we'll hear a plan of action to tackle this alarming crisis, and I certainly hope that we'll see a less selective grouping of statistics than we did from the Minister when she opened the debate. Because, Madam Deputy Speaker, this government has made it more expensive, it's made it more burdensome, it's made it more risky for businesses to hire young people. And this is not a view that I'm expressing from a partisan point of view. I'm going to try and follow the example of the member for Harlow. I'm going to try not to be partisan by quoting from external organisations here. The Federation of Small Business, for example, it warns that many firms are now scaling back recruitment, with young workers the most exposed. The highly respected Neutral Institute for Fiscal Studies has warned of a worrying rise in unemployment among young workers, citing policy-driven increases in labour costs. And the National Institute of Economic and Social Research has highlighted a cooling labour market with disproportionate effects on young people. So, how has the government managed to have such a terrible impact on our young people in its first 18 months? First of all, there is the national insurance rise. The Institute of Directors has described the national insurance rises as a direct disincentive to hiring. Because young people are the least experienced, the least established and the most vulnerable to cost cutting, when you make it more expensive to hire, employers hire fewer people. It is not complicated. Second, we have Labour's minimum wage increase. Now, since the 2024 general election, the cost of hiring a full-time minimum wage worker has risen sharply across every age group. For over 21s, the annual cost has increased by 15%, but for 18 to 20-year-olds, it has jumped by 26%, despite the fact that there is no employer national insurance to pay for that age group. And for apprentices, it has risen by 25%. In fact, since Labour got into government, it now costs £4,000 more a year to hire an 18-year-old full-time. So I give way to a member from the governing party.
Proud to be a member from the governing party, and I do thank you for giving way. Of course, I'm sure she wouldn't be telling those young people in her constituency that they don't deserve that pay rise, particularly when what this is about is making sure two people side by side doing the same job to the same standard should get the same pay, irrespective of their age. Surely that's a good thing.
I'm very sad to see that the honourable gentleman does not recognise that that young person can now be standing next to another young person who is unable to get a job. And surely he must agree that the level at which people are being paid has had an effect on the fact that there are fewer people in these jobs. The Federation of Small Businesses has said that these rises, well, they don't have to listen to me. They can listen to the Federation of Small Businesses again, Madam Speaker, and then I'll give way again. These rises risk pricing young people out of the labour market. That's not me speaking, that's the Federation of Small Businesses, and I'm sure the honourable gentleman will agree with them.
Yeah, Madam President, and I think the Federation of Small Business will, of course, be looking for answers to those policy challenges that they are rightly putting back to this place. So what would her answer to them be in terms of how much they should reduce how much they pay young people by in order to make that balance that so many members opposite have talked about this afternoon? By how much does she think the minimum wage should be reduced for young people so they can be guaranteed that job?
Got perhaps news that's a bit of a shock to the honourable gentleman, which is that it's his party that's in power. It should be his front bench that he's having this conversation with, and his Chancellor, because labour market economists at the Resolution Foundation have noted. The Resolution Foundation, by the way, not normally considered to be right-leaning, they've noted that when minimum wages rise faster than productivity, employers tend to favour experienced workers, disadvantaging young applicants. So the very people that Labour claims to champion are the ones being priced out of the labour market. The third thing, Madam Deputy Speaker, that Labour's business rates reforms have also piled pressure on our high streets. Hospitality, retail, small firms, these, as we've heard time and time again through this debate, are the very sectors that traditionally give young people their first job. Indeed, my own first job was behind the bar at a now defunct pub. And it taught me an enormous amount, and I was very grateful for the opportunity. And indeed, the Confederation of British Industry has said that rising business rates suppress investment and hiring. When you increase fixed costs for employers, you reduce their capacity to hire. And then lastly, Madam Deputy Speaker, but perhaps the most damaging of all, is Labour's Employment Rights Act. It introduces sweeping day one rights across the board. And the government's own economic analysis of the bill says higher labour costs could reduce demand for work, damaging the employment prospects of the same workers the package is trying to support. The risks are highest for workers with the weakest attachment to the labour market and the youngest workers, since they are still gaining skills and experience. This is not a partisan point. This is the government's own impact assessment of their own legislation. Indeed, the Youth Future Foundation has said the risk profile of recruiting young people has increased. And the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development reports that employers are already reducing recruitment plans, particularly for inexperienced workers, due to regulatory uncertainty. So for large firms, I will give way to my honourable friend.
Making an excellent speech, and I'm sorry to interrupt it, but I wanted to ask her about those people who are writing hundreds and hundreds of applications for graduate schemes and who are finding they're locked out of graduate schemes because they're being deprioritised because of the colour of their skin. Why should the Deputy Prime Minister's son or the children of our leader Kemi Badenoch, the honourable member for Saffron Walden, why should they be deprioritised why should they be prioritised for jobs over the tractor driver from Lincolnshire?
Well, she makes a very, very good point, and I would make the point, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the third-party testimony that I have been giving shows that for large firms, the legislation is a headache. For small firms, the legislation is a deterrent to employment, and for young people in our country, it is a disaster. Because when employers are forced to choose between hiring an experienced worker or taking a chance on an 18-year-old with no track record, the government has made that choice brutally simple. And the result is fewer opportunities, fewer first jobs, a generation shut out before they've even begun. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Labour government's policies are not pro-worker. They are anti-opportunity. They are killing youth employment with higher taxes, higher costs, higher risks for employers. And young people deserve better. They deserve a government that understands how jobs are created, how businesses operate, how opportunity is built. They deserve a government that will not price them out of the labour market. They deserve a government prepared to reform the welfare system so they do not become trapped in welfare benefits dependency. We, on this side of the House, we Conservatives, will stand up for those young people. We will abolish business rates for retail, hospitality and leisure. This will benefit 250,000 businesses and revive our high streets. We will break Labour's doom loop with our golden economic rule and save £47 billion. We will abolish stamp duty. We will introduce a £5,000 first jobs bonus, backing the next generation. And we will repeal every job-destroying, anti-business, anti-growth measure in the Employment Rights Act. We will double apprenticeship funding by ending debt-trap university degrees. We'll overhaul the sickness and disability benefit system. We will hold this government to account, and we will fight for a jobs market that gives every young person the chance to succeed.
Minister.